Hello, my name is Walina Jones, and I am presenting to you Black Women in White, Racial Conflict and Cooperation in the Nursing Profession from 1890 to 1950 by Darlene Clark Hine. There is more than one account of nursing history. The history and accomplishments of Black nurses are very rarely spoken of, if at all. In Black Women in White, the author Darlene Hine gives the historical journey of the Black nurse from 1890 to 1950. The Black woman is seen as the natural nurturer and caregiver of both white and Black families. This image of servitude made it even harder for her to be considered and trained and later a professional nurse. Hine delves into the exploitation of Black student nurses in Black hospitals, nurse training schools, and prominent white philanthropists who helped keep these institutions open. Black nurses endured being stereotyped and marginalized by male professionals, Black and white, and treated with disdain from white female nurses. Despite all of this, she continues to learn, care, and fight for the right to be considered an equally qualified professional nurse. History as pedagogy. In Black Women in White, the author uses historical analysis as a pedagogy to tell of the plight of the Black nurse. The author explores the sensitive topics of racial inequality in education and the workplace by chronicling the fight these nurses had to endure from the establishment of the first educational institutions for Black nurses to demanding equity and respect in the workplace to changes eventually made. While many strides have been made in the 21st century, the struggle to be considered equal professionals continues for Black nurses today. Hine's book is a historical contextual reading for all, as knowing the history of Black nurses will help bring more self-awareness and guidance into the future. This may help to serve others recognize their own unconscious biases. History as evidence. Hine has spotlighted many great Black nurses that have given voice to the many ongoing injustices. Nurses must have a pioneer memory and remember those who came before that helped shape nursing as we experience it today. It is important to remember and honor those who struggle to create the possibilities for those who follow. Black nurses cannot join nursing organizations such as the ANA. So in 1908, they formed their own organization, the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses. In 1950, they dissolved it when they were finally allowed to join the ANA. Black nurses could not work in the hospitals, but were able to work private duty and public health. White nurses primarily worked in the hospitals, and student nurses, Black student nurses, mainly worked for free in or were exploited in the Black hospitals. So the only options um, graduate Black nurses had was to work private duty or public health, um, in which they cared for in private duty. They cared for white and Black families, and in public health, it was mainly the Black populations. Um, and both of these populations appreciated the Black nurses and felt that they were advocates of theirs, and they cared for them. They were denied the right to take the nursing licensure test because white nurses did not think that they were qualified. Black nurses volunteered and waited on calls from the armed forces um, and the American Red Cross, but they were denied the right to serve in the Armed Forces Nurses Corps during World War I. History as explanation. Historically, there have been many great strides in healthcare. However, there is still room for improvements, especially in diversity. Diversity is important in the nursing profession because nurses interact with and care for people of different cultures. In nursing education, a diverse faculty can help educate future nurses on, on healthcare disparities and inequalities that impact minority communities. This education will then be implemented in the workplace and would have a direct impact on the patient population. This is also good because of the mistrust that a lot of um, African American populations have of the medical field. So to see someone that looks like you and caring for you, it gives them a sense of ease. Black women nurses in the past had to overcome overt discrimination, segregation, and racism. Although things are much better today, Black nurses are still facing challenges of covert racism. Lack and these it shows up as lack of promotion to leadership positions in healthcare and in education. There must be a concentrated effort in recruiting peoples of color. There are still fewer Black nurses in the medical field than whites. Um, while Black nurses can now work in the hospitals, they still only make up 6.2% of nurses uh, in healthcare. And there must be more educators of nurses and more educators of color to better match the diversity of America. I'll also like to read a small excerpt from the author. She says to ignore Black women, however small their numbers, while endeavoring to study the experiences of women in the professions, as well as in other aspects of American life and culture, will continue to yield at best partial truth. So she says that to say um, we have to study all aspects of history, which includes Black history. Thank you.